All right, guys, time for another cigar and some talk about another gun from my personal collection. So, last time we talked about my first handgun, and now we're going to talk about my first AR-15, which happened to also come immediately. Actually, it wasn't immediately on the heels of that 1911. There was a Springfield Armory XDM in there, and then it would have been this one. So basically, oh yeah, we got a Tactical Tobacco Churchill here. I think this is their one from April. So this would have been again early 20s. First real job, first real paychecks, starting to get into buying my own guns. And AR-15s. I mean, they've been around forever, but they were really starting to come into their own from like a hobbyist like builder perspective. Like guys were starting to build them at home a lot. I decided that it was time for me to get a an AR, but I want to build my own because, again, engineering background, engineering job basically. So, super interested about manufacturing and how things are made. So the idea of getting to put together my own AR-15 because it was basically a Lego set sounded super appealing to me. But I had no idea what I was doing at all. So I literally just went and Googled like buy an AR-15 parts kit, and I wound up on RanierArms.com. And there I could just go and they had all the bits and pieces. I don't remember if I was on like AR15.com, like message boards, like I found a thread or something with basically being like, okay, you need one of each of these items. But obviously, the first thing I needed was a lower receiver. So this is a Parts Box Galore AR-15. This is the gun I'm talking about right here. So I went back to my local FUD gun shop, and that old FUD gun shop owner was sitting there, and I walked in and said, Larry, I need to buy an AR-15 stripped lower receiver. And he said, yep, no problem. I got one here for you from Delaware Machinery in Muncie, Indiana. And so I bought my stripped lower receiver from him, and he immediately tried to sell me just a off-the-shelf parts kit. I don't remember what it was. I'd sort of learned my lesson a little bit by then of like, no, just go get what you actually want off the internet. So I went back onto the Rainier website now that I had my lower receiver, and I started building out a shopping cart, and I had no freaking idea what I was doing. I was just basically grabbing parts and putting them in there. I didn't wind up with complete garbage, which is probably not much of a testament to me, probably more of a testament to luck. I wanted it to be a short-barreled rifle, but this was back in the days of like the kind of the dark days of like, how do you do an SBR or anything like that. And SIG had just released their first brace. So I think this was even before like SB Tactical, I think, was even around. SIG had this brace that they had gotten approved from ATF. So I bought one of those SIG braces, and I got this Adam Arms short barrel. I don't even know what this thing is. It's probably, I don't know, maybe 10, 11 inches. But it's piston. It's actually a piston upper. So I got a complete upper, completely assembled. I didn't want to mess around with trying to put a barrel on or doing barrel nuts or anything like that. So the upper came completely assembled. I wound up with a Geisley trigger, actually a really good one. I don't remember which one this is, but it's one of their flat bar triggers, and that's probably the nicest thing on this gun is the trigger. Which I guess if you had to pick something to be really nice, it might as well be the trigger. So I put this thing together, put it together a couple times wrong, all the classic mistakes, lost a couple of springs, had a hell of a time getting the safety detent in there with the spring, had an even more of a heck of a time getting the spring in the detent in for the front takedown pin. It's funny now, looking back, you're like, man, I've done this 100 times, and there's so many little tricks to make it easier. But back then, it was a undertaking, and at the time, I didn't think to go on YouTube and actually like try and find some videos. I'm sure this wasn't like 30 years ago. Like YouTube was definitely around. I'm sure there were build videos on YouTube, but I just was basically looking at like blog posts, or not blog posts, forum posts on like AR-15.com, I think, and then whatever showed up from Rainier Arms. So he's got it all put together, and it was a fun gun. Just shot the shit out of this thing. Just absolutely shot the shit out of it. So 2018, I have a coworker who was like, "Hey man, I'm going to buy a suppressor, and they're running a deal, and you should come in and buy a suppressor too. I think we can get them for like $400 a pop." And it was actually this OSS suppressor, and which is interesting. So OSS turned into Huxworks. So this is kind of the like a very, like, this is probably like the great grandpa of kind of where the Huxworks flow through cans are at now. It's got a huge investment cast kind of core inside of it, and you can see it's got the flow through kind of end that, I think I think they're the ones that, I don't want to get flamed. I don't know if Hux actually came up with the idea of a flow through can or not, but they sure popularized the term, and I think they hold the trademark on it. Again, this was back in the day, so I think I waited 18 months for my Form 4, for my paper Form 4 to clear. But got my can, put it on here, was immediately underwhelmed by how much it quieted down the gun. I, again, stupidly was just expecting like movie quiet, right? You're kind of led to believe that from, watching movies and TV and video games. And, I did no research. My buddy was buying. I was like, I'll buy one too. So, it was just kind of one of those things that I wanted one. I was honestly more curious just about the paperwork side of it and the legal side of it, which was definitely foreshadowing of where my career has taken me. Dealing with more of the maybe not being as intimidated of dealing with some of the regulatory stuff. And then to that end, I got this can, and I put that on there, and then very quickly I was like, man, I should turn this into an SBR. I think I ended up on National Gun Trust, their website. They have some awesome walkthroughs if you're ever curious about how to do Form 1s or even Form 4s. Like, I'm an FFL. I use their references all the time for filling out Form 4s on e-forms and stuff like that if I've been out of practice for a while. So did the Form 4, or I'm sorry, did the Form 1 to do my own SBR at home, and that went considerably faster, and was able to put an actual real stock on this thing. And so this has definitely turned into, it's not a wall hanger, but it hangs on the wall a lot because I've got a lot of other stuff that I enjoy shooting these days, and that's a little more interesting than this. But this will never go anywhere, you never forget your first, right? And, like I said, foreshadowing being what it is, I can definitely point back to building this rifle, putting me on a trajectory to do work and business in the firearms industry because of my time doing this one here. So anyways, so definitely one of my favorite guns. Don't get to shoot it as much anymore, but whenever I take it out, there's a lot of good memories associated with this guy.